Betsy, as a woman, you grew up here in Jacksonville. What's it mean to you to practice law in Jacksonville?
I have been so fortunate to practice in Jacksonville for the last 33 years. When I began practice in 1980, there were no women who were criminal defense attorneys that you could hire privately. I think at that time there were maybe 4 female public defenders. And there were a handful of state attorneys, but there were literally, if you wanted to hire a woman to represent you in a criminal case, there was no one. I had wanted to be a public defender, and actually I had worked for Bill and his partners before I went to law school. So I always had a passion for criminal defense. It was what I always wanted to do. Wasn't really sure that I wanted to come back to Jacksonville. And one day Bill picked up the phone and he goes, "What are you doing? Why aren't you here?" And I walked in the door and I've never left. It has been an amazing journey for me to see, number one, how women have been able to enter the profession and really bring things to the profession. People often ask me, well, what's the difference in a male or a female defense attorney? Substantively, I don't really think there is a lot of difference. You do your homework, you do your presentation, but I do think women bring a different perspective to a criminal defense case. I think women are probably more detail oriented, and I think women are probably a little bit more aware of some of the emotional impact, particularly to the family, because no one gets charged in isolation. When somebody gets charged, it's almost like you've told that family that they have cancer, and what are the resources that are going to be gathered to help this individual get through the process. I've seen Jacksonville make so many changes, both good and bad. Bill and I practiced law for about 7 years, and then we married. And we've been married for 27 years now. We've raised a family in Jacksonville. We now have our oldest daughter is in law school at University of Florida. And it's just so exciting for me to hear her say that she may potentially want to come back to Jacksonville. Having said that, there is still a lot that needs to be changed in Jacksonville. Far too many African Americans are arrested for far too many trivial offenses. For instance, marijuana. If you look at the rates of use of marijuana, white people and black people use marijuana at the same rates. But black people get busted about 10 times more than white people do. That happens in Jacksonville every day. I'm still concerned about the lack of economic progress for the disadvantaged people here. It's really easy to ride around in an economically disadvantaged part of Jacksonville and make arrests. But what does that do for us as a community? The one thing that I love about practicing here is that if you have a passion for something, you are never told no. And I cannot tell you how many cases I have walked in the door and told Bill Sheppard, I'm doing this case, and he has never said no. If you are passionate about something, Bill is going to tell you, follow your passion. And I really truly think maybe that's one of the differences for the people that practice here. It's not just a job. It's not just a profession. It really is a calling. And I remember when I was a young lawyer, and it was one of my first civil rights cases, and Bill was somewhat mentoring me and kind of in the background and telling me what to do. And this old grizzly city attorney came up to me. He'd never met me before, and he said, "You work for that Bill Sheppard?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do. How can you tell?" And he goes, "You got that little glow on your forehead." And I want to think that I still have that glow on my forehead, that it still matters to me, because when you are dealing with people and and things that are going to change their life forever. If you get convicted of a felony, you can't vote. You get your civil rights taken away from you. And as a lawyer, if that doesn't matter to you, if that doesn't offend you, you need to be in another area of the law. And I love that the passion that we all have for what we do. And maybe when my daughter begins practicing, I'll pass that passion on to her. But if you work in this community, if you live in this community, if you raise kids in this community, you want good things for this community. And I think that there's somewhat of a misperception that if you are a criminal defense attorney, you somehow do not want those good things to happen. I like to think that we are kind of the guardians of liberty, and that what we do is as important as what the cops do and what the prosecutors do and what the judges do, because we're the ones that keep the system honest.